For over 8,000 years, one name ruled the stars. The Orcs Dominion. An empire so vast that entire galaxies paid tribute before its fleets ever arrived. Their warships blocked out suns. Their soldiers wore armor forged inside neutron stars. Their admirals had never known defeat. Every civilization eventually bowed. Those who resisted simply disappeared from history. The Galactic Council called them the Keepers of Order. Everyone else called them what they truly were: conquerors. Across known space, hundreds of species survived only because the Dominion allowed it. Every year, worlds sent resources, soldiers, and technology as tribute. Refusal meant extermination. And then, the Dominion discovered Earth. At first, humanity seemed insignificant. A young civilization. One solar system. No interstellar empire. No ancient relics. No seat on the Galactic Council. Just one blue world orbiting an ordinary yellow star. The Dominion's high command laughed. This species won't survive a single week. Yet something strange appeared in every intelligence report. Human ships were rarely seen. Their colonies remained hidden. No one knew exactly how many warships Earth possessed. The reports simply ended with one sentence: human military strength cannot be confirmed. Grand Marshal Kaler ignored every warning. Every primitive species hides behind mystery before surrendering. His officers nodded. Within hours, 5,000 Dominion warships entered the Sol system. The largest invasion fleet assembled in centuries. Earth's orbital defense stations immediately detected the armada. Emergency sirens echoed across every continent. Cities activated planetary shields. Civilian transports descended into underground shelters. Military satellites switched from observation mode to combat readiness. Inside Earth's Unified Defense Command, silence filled the operations center. Every screen displayed the same terrifying image: a wall of enemy warships stretching farther than sensors could measure. An officer whispered, "They actually came?" Supreme Fleet Commander Elena Hayes remained calm. "Has the evacuation reached Phase 3? "Yes, Commander." "Orbital civilians?" "Safe." "Outer colonies?" 82% evacuated. She nodded. "Good." Another officer looked confused. "Commander, shouldn't we deploy the First Fleet?" Elena smiled. "No." The room froze. "But that's our strongest fleet." "Exactly." Everyone waited for an explanation. Instead, she simply looked toward Earth hanging outside the command station's massive window. "They believe this is all we have. Far beyond Neptune, hidden behind artificial gravitational distortions, something ancient awakened. Thousands of lights slowly illuminated inside objects that every telescope had mistaken for frozen asteroids. Gigantic structures unfolded. Armor plates separated. Engines brighter than stars ignited silently. One after another, massive warships emerged from the darkness. Not dozens. Not hundreds. Thousands. Each vessel larger than any ship the Dominion had ever built. They carried no visible markings. No registry. No public record. Officially, they did not exist. Back near Earth, the Dominion transmitted its ultimatum: kneel before the Orcs Dominion. Surrender your planet. Deliver your scientists, your military, and your government. In return, your extinction will be postponed. Across Earth, the message played on billions of screens. Children watched. Workers stopped. Soldiers gripped their weapons. No one spoke. Finally, Earth answered. Not with surrender. Not with threats. Only 7 words echoed across every Dominion communication channel. "You have entered the wrong solar system." Grand Marshal Kaler burst into laughter. "Destroy their orbital defenses. Leave enough survivors to remember today." Thousands of Dominion cannons charged simultaneously. Blue-white energy flooded the darkness. The attack had begun, but none of them noticed the impossible sensor readings appearing behind their fleet. One frightened tactical officer suddenly stood. "Grand Marshal?" Kaler frowned. "What is it?" The officer's voice trembled. "Multiple unidentified contacts. Numbers still increasing. Another officer interrupted. They're emerging beyond the Kuiper Belt. Count confirmed. Silence filled the bridge. 25,000 warships. Every Dominion officer stared at the display. Unknown fleet. Unknown technology. Unknown origin. Moving directly toward them. And leading the formation. One colossal flagship nearly the size of a small moon. The secret fleet had finally awakened. The Orcs Dominion had conquered thousands of worlds. They had faced alien armadas, ancient machines, and civilizations that possessed technology far older than humanity itself. But nothing prepared them for what appeared beyond Neptune. 25,000 warships. A fleet larger than anything recorded in galactic history. For the first time in 8,000 years, the Orcs Dominion stopped advancing. On the bridge of the Dominion flagship Imperial Judgment, Grand Marshal Kaler stared at the impossible numbers appearing on his tactical display. That cannot be accurate. The censor officer swallowed. Sir, we have checked 3 times. Then check a 4th. We did. Kaler stepped closer. Who are they? The officer hesitated. Unknown. Unknown. No identification signals. No alliance codes. No recognized technology signatures. The bridge became silent. The Dominion had detailed records of every major civilization in the galaxy. Every species. Every fleet. Every weapon system. Nothing moved through space without them knowing. Yet this fleet was invisible to their entire intelligence network. Until now. Kaler clenched his fist. Contact them. A communication channel opened. For several seconds, only static answered. Then a voice appeared. Controlled. Human. This is Admiral Elena Hayes of the Terran Defense Fleet. The Dominion officers exchanged confused looks. Terran? The name sounded unfamiliar. Kaler laughed. So the primitive world finally reveals its toys. Elena's expression did not change. You are currently inside protected Terran space. Kaler smiled. Protected? He looked at his thousands of battleships surrounding Earth. You are surrounded. A moment of silence followed. Then Elena answered. No. She turned toward the tactical display. You are surrounded. The Dominion bridge went quiet. For the first time, their enemy sounded confident. Kaler leaned forward. You expect me to believe your hidden fleet can challenge the Orcs Dominion? Elena looked directly into the camera. We don't expect you to believe anything. Your mistake was assuming humanity survived by being weak. The transmission ended. Across the Sol system, the hidden fleet moved. And the galaxy witnessed something impossible. The ships were not newly built. They were ancient. For centuries, humanity had secretly prepared for the day when the universe discovered Earth. While other species expanded quickly, humanity studied. They watched. They learned. They understood one simple truth. The galaxy did not respect peaceful civilizations. It respected survivors. The first human colonies had been destroyed before they ever became famous. The early explorers had discovered that advanced civilizations were watching Earth. Waiting. Judging. Some saw humanity as a future threat. Others saw humanity as an easy target. So Earth made a decision. They would never announce their strength. They would never reveal their true capabilities. They would build quietly, hidden inside moons, inside abandoned planets, inside empty regions of space. A secret fleet was born. The Terran Shadow Armada. A force designed for one purpose. To protect humanity when diplomacy failed. Back in the battle zone, the Dominion prepared to fire. Thousands of cannons charged. The Imperial Judgment gave the order. Destroy the human fleet. The first shots crossed the darkness. Millions of energy weapons raced toward the Terran ships. The Dominion expected explosions. They expected destruction. Instead, the weapons disappeared. The human fleet did not dodge. It did not retreat. It simply activated its defenses. A massive blue shield expanded across the entire formation. The Dominion's strongest weapons struck it. And failed. The bridge of the Imperial Judgment fell silent. A weapons officer stared at his screen. Impossible. Kaler's eyes narrowed. What happened? Our attacks. The officers struggled to speak. They caused less than 1% shield damage. The Grand Marshal froze. Their strongest weapons had barely scratched the enemy. The human fleet responded. Not with thousands of attacks. Not with a chaotic assault. Only one command was given. Target their flagship. Aboard the Terran flagship Eternal Horizon, ancient weapons awakened. Weapons that had never appeared in any galactic database. The main cannon began charging. Space itself started bending around it. Dominion sensors screamed warnings. Energy levels exceeding calculation limits. Shield failure probability, 98%. Kaler finally understood. Humanity had not been hiding because it was weak. Humanity had been hiding because it was waiting. The cannon fired. A beam of pure energy crossed millions of kilometers in an instant. The Dominion flagship's shields collapsed. The largest warship in the Orcs fleet was pushed backward by the impact. No explosion. No destruction. Just a message. A warning. Humanity could have destroyed them. But they chose not to. Admiral Hayes opened the channel again. Grand Marshal Kaler. This is your final opportunity. Leave our system. Kaler stared at the damaged flagship. For the first time in his long career, he felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. Because the strongest empire in the galaxy had finally discovered the truth. Earth was not an unprotected world. Earth was the reason the galaxy still had a future. The battlefield had become completely silent. For thousands of years, the Orcs Dominion had been the unstoppable force of the galaxy. Their enemies surrendered before the first shot was fired. Their victories were recorded before battles even began. But now, their flagship was damaged. Their weapons had failed. And a hidden human fleet stood before them, larger and more powerful than anything they had ever encountered. For the first time in history, the Orcs Dominion did not know what to do. Inside the Imperial Judgment, Grand Marshal Kaler stared at the tactical screen. The numbers were impossible. 25,000 human warships. Every single one equipped with technology beyond Dominion understanding. Their armor was stronger. Their shields were more advanced. Their energy systems were years ahead of anything the Dominion had created. Kaler finally spoke. How long? The weapons officer looked confused. Sir? How long have they been hiding this fleet? No one answered. Because the truth was terrifying. Humanity had been building an army right under the galaxy's eyes. And nobody noticed. An intelligence officer quickly searched ancient records. Grand Marshal? What? There are references. Kaler turned. Explain. The officer brought up old reports from thousands of years ago. Early human exploration missions disappeared near unknown regions of space. At the time, everyone assumed they were destroyed. Kaler narrowed his eyes. And? They weren't destroyed. The officer's voice became quieter. They were building. Images appeared on the screen. Hidden human facilities. Massive shipyards inside dead planets. Artificial moons filled with factories. Entire fleets being assembled in complete secrecy. The Dominion officers watched in disbelief. Humanity had not been expanding outward. They had been preparing inward. Every lost expedition, every missing colony ship, every unexplained disappearance was part of the same plan. The creation of a hidden civilization capable of surviving anything. Back on the Terran flagship Eternal Horizon, Admiral Elena Hayes watched the enemy fleet. Her officers waited for the command to attack. But she remained silent. Admiral? Captain Marcus Voss stepped forward. The Dominion fleet is vulnerable. We can destroy them. Elena looked at the display. Yes. Then why aren't we firing? She answered calmly. Because this battle was never about destroying them. The officers looked confused. Then what is it about? Elena looked toward Earth. It's about making sure every civilization in the galaxy understands one thing. Humanity is not a resource. Humanity is not a colony. And Earth is not a prize to be claimed. At that moment, the Dominion fleet received another transmission. Not from the military. From Earth. A message from the people. Millions of human voices combined into one broadcast. We gave you a chance. You ignored it. You came here believing we were weak. But you never asked why we survived. The message ended. Across the galaxy, other civilizations watched. They had all been monitoring the invasion. The peaceful species that feared the Dominion. The planets that had suffered under their control. Everyone saw the same thing. The empire that had conquered the galaxy was now standing before something it could not defeat. But Kayla refused to accept humiliation. His pride was stronger than his fear. He gave a secret order. Activate the Omega Protocol. The bridge went silent. The officers looked shocked. Grand Marshal, the Omega Protocol has never been used. Kaler stared at the human fleet. Then today will be remembered as the day it was. Deep inside the Dominion formation, something moved. A hidden weapon emerged. A massive structure larger than any battleship. A forbidden technology created thousands of years ago. The Dominion's final weapon. The Planet Breaker Cannon. Its purpose was simple. Destroy entire worlds. The weapon charged toward Earth. Across the human fleet, alarms sounded. Unknown energy spike detected. Target, Earth. Admiral Hayes looked at the screen. For the first time, her expression changed. Not fear. Not panic. Anger. The Dominion had ignored the warning. They had attacked humanity. And now they had aimed a weapon at the homeworld. She slowly stood. All fleet commanders. Prepare the Genesis formation. The officers froze. The Genesis formation was not a normal battle strategy. It was the most secret command in the Terran military. A formation designed only for one situation. When Earth itself was threatened. Thousands of human warships moved into position. The galaxy watched as the hidden fleet transformed. The ships connected their energy systems. Their shields combined. Their weapons synchronized. The entire fleet became one massive weapon. The Dominion officers stared in disbelief. What are they doing? The answer came from a terrified sensor operator. They are not defending Earth. They are preparing to attack. The Planet Breaker Cannon reached full power. The Dominion fired. A beam capable of destroying planets raced toward humanity's home. But before it reached Earth, the Terran fleet fired first. The combined energy of 25,000 warships crossed the battlefield. The galaxy held its breath. And the impossible happened. The Dominion's ultimate weapon was stopped. Not weakened. Not damaged. Stopped completely. For the first time in 8,000 years, the Orcs Dominion realized something. They had not invaded a weak planet. They had challenged the one civilization that had spent centuries preparing for their arrival. And humanity was just getting started. The galaxy watched in complete silence. The impossible had happened. The Orcs Dominion's ultimate weapon had failed. The Planet Breaker Cannon, a weapon that had erased civilizations from history, had been stopped by humanity's hidden fleet. Not destroyed. Not avoided. Stopped. The entire galaxy witnessed the moment the strongest empire discovered the truth. Humanity was not a young civilization waiting to be conquered. Humanity was the civilization everyone should have feared. Inside the Imperial Judgment, Grand Marshal Kaler stared at the frozen energy beam on his screen. His mind refused to accept what he was seeing. That weapon destroyed 12 planets. The weapons officer nodded slowly. Yes, Grand Marshal. And they stopped it with shields? The officer hesitated. No. Kaler turned. Then how? The officer looked terrified. They redirected the energy. Silence filled the bridge. The human fleet had not blocked their attack. They had studied it, controlled it, and turned the Dominion's strongest weapon into harmless energy. The technology the Orcs Dominion had spent centuries trying to develop, humanity had mastered it. Kaler finally understood. The humans were not simply advanced. They were dangerous because they adapted. Every attack gave them information. Every enemy gave them knowledge. Every war made them stronger. The Terran fleet moved forward. Slowly. Calmly. Like an ocean approaching a shore. Thousands of Dominion ships prepared to fire. But hesitation had already infected their ranks. For the first time, Dominion soldiers questioned their orders. Should we continue? Can we win? Who are we fighting? Those questions spread across the fleet. Because fear was something the Dominion had always used against others. Now, they were experiencing it themselves. On the bridge of the Eternal Horizon, Admiral Elena Hayes watched the enemy formation. Open communication. The channel connected. Kaler appeared on screen. His face was different now. The arrogance was gone. You knew. Elena remained silent. You knew we would come. Yes. You prepared this fleet for us? Not specifically. Kaler frowned. Then why build something this powerful? Elena looked toward Earth. Because history taught us something. What? Every empire that claims it will rule forever eventually finds someone who refuses to kneel. The Grand Marshal stared at her. You feared us. Elena shook her head. No. We respected the possibility of someone like you. That is why humanity survived. Kaler looked at the human fleet. How long? Elena paused. How long what? How long have you possessed this power? The Admiral answered honestly. 300 years. The Dominion officers froze. 300 years. Humanity had possessed this power for 3 centuries. And never used it. Never conquered anyone. Never demanded tribute. Never threatened the galaxy. They had hidden their strength while others abused theirs. Kaler lowered his head. A question remained. Why reveal yourselves now? Elena's voice became colder. Because you attacked Earth. The answer echoed across the battlefield. Simple. Direct. Unavoidable. The Dominion had made the one mistake no empire should make. They had attacked the home of a species that had spent centuries preparing for survival. The first human strike began. Not a destruction attack. A precision attack. Terran ships moved through the Dominion formation with impossible speed. Their weapons disabled engines. Destroyed communication systems. Shut down weapon platforms. Humanity was not trying to destroy the Dominion fleet. They were proving they could. Within minutes, thousands of Dominion warships became powerless. The galaxy watched as the greatest military force in history was defeated without being destroyed. A message spread throughout every civilization. The Orcs Dominion has fallen. But then, something unexpected happened. A distress signal reached the Terran fleet. From inside Dominion territory, millions of civilians were trapped. Their own empire had abandoned them. The Dominion leadership had sacrificed entire populations to protect their pride. Admiral Hayes looked at the message. Her officers waited. Admiral, do we help them? Everyone knew the answer. Humanity had been attacked. The Dominion had threatened Earth. They deserved punishment. But Elena remembered the reason humanity built its fleet. Not for revenge. Not for conquest. For protection. She gave the order. Prepare rescue fleets. The officers looked surprised. Even after everything they did? Elena nodded. Yes. Because we are not becoming them. Across the galaxy, billions watched as human ships moved deeper into enemy space. Not to conquer. Not to rule. But to save the very people who had once feared them. And that was the moment the galaxy finally understood. Humanity's greatest weapon was never its fleet. It was the reason behind it. For thousands of years, the Orcs Dominion had believed one thing above all else. Power decided everything. The strongest ruled. The weakest obeyed. Mercy was considered a weakness. Compassion was seen as something only the defeated could afford. But humanity proved them wrong. Because when Earth finally revealed its hidden fleet, it did not use that power to conquer. It used it to protect. Across Dominion space, human rescue fleets moved through war zones that had once been controlled by fear. Terran ships opened their medical bays. They repaired damaged stations. They evacuated civilians from collapsing worlds. The same ships that could destroy entire fleets became symbols of hope. Alien civilizations watched in confusion. They expected humanity to become the next empire. They expected Earth to demand revenge. Instead, humanity offered peace. The Galactic Council gathered an emergency meeting. Representatives from hundreds of species appeared through holographic transmissions. For centuries, the Council had been controlled by fear of the Orcs' dominion. No one dared challenge them. No one dared speak against them. Until now. A council member from the peaceful Valari species looked at the human representative. "We do not understand." The human ambassador remained calm. "What don't you understand? You defeated the strongest empire in history. Your fleet could control the galaxy. Why haven't you taken power?" The ambassador smiled. "Because we already have what we wanted." The council members looked confused. "What?" "Home." The answer surprised everyone. Humanity had never wanted the galaxy. They never wanted slaves. They never wanted tribute. They only wanted the right to exist without being threatened. Back in the Sol system, the Terran fleet returned home. The massive warships entered Earth's orbit. For the first time, humanity's secret guardians were visible to every person on the planet. Children looked into the sky and saw ships larger than cities. People who once feared the unknown now understood. They were protected. But the story was not over. Deep inside Dominion territory, Grand Marshal Kaler stood alone in his command chamber. The empire he served was collapsing. His armies were gone. His reputation was destroyed. Yet he had one final question. Why had humanity shown mercy? Why had they saved the people of an enemy who attacked them? A human officer entered the room. Kaler looked up. "Why are you here?" The officer answered. "To deliver a message." Kaler laughed. "Another surrender demand?" "No." The officer placed a data device on the table. "Humanity offers you a choice." Kaler stared. "A choice?" "Yes. Your empire can end here. Or it can rebuild." The Grand Marshal looked surprised. "You would allow us to survive?" The officer nodded. "Everyone deserves a chance to change." Kaler looked away. For the first time in his life, he understood why humanity had defeated them. The Orcs' dominion had built its power through fear. Humanity built its power through unity. The dominion forced others to obey. Humanity inspired others to stand beside them. That was the difference. Years later, the galaxy would tell stories about the day the Orcs' dominion attacked Earth. They would remember the 25,000 hidden warships. They would remember the impossible weapons. They would remember the moment the strongest empire surrendered. But the greatest story was not about humanity's power. It was about humanity's choice. Because when the galaxy expected Earth to become another empire, humanity became something greater. A protector. A guardian. A reminder that strength did not exist to crush the weak. Strength existed to defend them. And every civilization across the stars learned the same lesson. Never judge humanity by what it shows you. Because behind the quiet planet, behind the peaceful explorers, behind the simple blue world orbiting a small star, there was a civilization that had survived every challenge the universe could offer. And when the day finally came, when the galaxy demanded to know what humanity was truly capable of, Earth answered with a fleet hidden for centuries, a fleet built not for conquest, but for the moment when humanity had no choice but to stand. And that day became known forever as the day Earth awakened.